Financial injustice feels personal, not just practical. There are pains that make no noise. They don't show up on medical exams. They leave no visible marks, yet they press against the chest in a constant, silent way. Being underpaid, not receiving what you worked for, discovering that someone withheld what was yours, especially when that person was someone you trusted. That is not merely a financial problem. It goes beneath the skin. It strikes at dignity. Because when payment doesn't come, the mind begins asking dangerous questions. Was my work not worth that much? Did I overestimate myself? Was it my fault for trusting? There is a quiet humiliation in being undervalued, an almost childlike feeling of having been deceived. And for many people, especially after 40, this pain is accompanied by an unfair guilt. Instead of recognizing manipulation, the mind turns against itself. You replay the conversation, you revisit the details. You analyze every word. Your brain tries to locate where you went wrong, because neurologically, financial betrayal activates the same circuits as social rejection. It's not just about money. It's about belonging. It's about recognition. It's about respect. And maybe you haven't told anyone about it. Maybe you said, it's fine. But the body knows when something isn't fine. Unpaid wages are like a breath held too long. You keep living, keep working, keep smiling. But there's air that never fully entered your lungs. Something interrupted, something suspended inside you. That's why Psalm 109 matters so much. Within the book of Psalms, it is one of the rawest, most intense, most honest prayers. Psalm 109 is not polished. It is not gentle. It is not spiritually pretty. It is human. It is direct. It is someone standing before God saying, "This was unjust." And there is something deeply healing about realizing that Scripture does not hide anger. It does not pretend serenity. It gives language to pain. And giving language to pain is the first step in preventing pain from becoming identity. Because when you do not express injustice, it seeps inward. It turns into cynicism, into distrust, into hardness. You begin protecting yourself, not only from the one who hurt you, but from everyone, even from new opportunities, even from new relationships. The mind tries to prevent another loss. The heart begins closing small doors without realizing it, and without noticing, you start paying a price greater than the money that was withheld. But there is another path, a path that is not revenge, and not passivity either. It is conscious surrender. It is saying, I will not destroy myself trying to fix this impulsively. Meditating on Psalm 109 is not about feeding anger. It is about organizing anger. It is taking that raw emotional energy and bringing it into a safe place. Prayer becomes a pressure valve, not to explode, but to release what would otherwise corrode you from the inside. Perhaps what hurts most is not the amount that remains unpaid. Perhaps it is the feeling of being diminished, of being invisible, of being treated as disposable. And that wound touches something very deep, the human desire to be seen and acknowledged. When payment doesn't come, it feels as though your story was ignored, as though your effort didn't count, and that hurts. It hurts more than you might want to admit, but listen carefully. The injustice that happened to you does not redefine who you are. It happened. It was real. It was painful, but it is not your identity. You are not the person who was deceived. You are the person who worked, who built, who trusted, and who is now learning to surrender the battle without losing your soul. Now, for a moment, close your eyes if you can. take a deep breath and allow these words to be more than words. Let them become an inner alignment. Righteous Judge, you see every withheld payment, every broken agreement, every silent exploitation. Where I was diminished, restore my portion. Where my labor was ignored, remember it before you. Fight where I cannot fight without losing my peace. Guard my heart from revenge, but do not ignore injustice. Return what was blocked, not only in money, but in dignity. Notice what happens inside you as you say this. Recognize the difference between seeking justice and being consumed by revenge. One protects your dignity, the other corrodes your peace. And today, here, you are not choosing passivity, you are choosing clarity. You are choosing not to allow financial injustice to become a permanent emotional injustice. Because what was withheld may have been money, but what is at stake now is greater. It is your peace, your identity. The integrity of your heart while you wait for God to fight battles you cannot fight without losing yourself in the process. 2. The emotional weight of withheld money. Over time, something curious begins to happen inside someone who has suffered financial injustice. The initial pain, which seemed clearly directed at the other person, starts turning inward. Especially after 40, many people don't say, "I was manipulated." They say, "I should have seen it coming." They don't recognize the tactic used against them. They recognize only their own mistake in trusting. And that silent shift in focus is heavy, because when guilt settles in, it doesn't just hurt, it erodes. You begin mentally reviewing every detail: the conversation, the contract, the tone of voice, the promise that was made, the exact moment you decided to believe. The brain does this trying to regain control. In emotional neuroscience, this is known as predictive reconstruction. The mind searches for the precise point where the pain could have been avoided, because if it finds that point, it believes it can prevent it in the future. But there is a hidden danger here. When you obsessively search for your own error, you may fail to acknowledge the other person's conscious choice to act unjustly. Financial betrayal activates the same neural circuits as social rejection. The brain does not clearly distinguish between "I wasn't paid" and "I wasn't valued." To it, both experiences signal a threat to belonging, and belonging is emotional survival. That's why the pain can feel disproportionate to the amount of money involved. Sometimes the number wasn't even that high, but the internal impact was immense, because it wasn't just money, it was recognition, it was respect, it was validation. There is also an invisible mistake many people make without realizing it, tying their self-worth to the return of the payment, as if the reimbursement would be the final proof that they truly deserved it. And while the money doesn't come back, a part of you remains suspended, waiting for confirmation, waiting for repair, waiting for the signal that you weren't naive, that you weren't weak, that you weren't irrelevant. But your dignity cannot be conditioned on a bank transfer. Your value cannot depend on restitution. There is a counterintuitive truth here, and perhaps a difficult one to accept at first. Peace increases strategic clarity. When emotion is boiling, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational decision-making, operates less efficiently. Anger provides quick, almost electric energy, but it reduces precision. Calm, though less intense, expands vision. It allows you to see options, to plan, to act without sabotaging yourself. This is not about staying silent. It's about choosing the internal state from which you will act. There is a practical shift that can change everything. Separate the emotional wound from the financial recovery plan. The wound needs care. The plan needs strategy. Mixing the two often produces impulsiveness. First, acknowledge the pain without judgment. Yes, it was unjust. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it affected your self-esteem. Then, at another moment, with paper and pen, consider concrete steps. Documentation, formal conversations, legal guidance if necessary. One thing is a wounded heart, another is a recovery process. When you separate them, you gain strength. There is a simple metaphor that may help you visualize this. Do not allow a stolen wallet to become a stolen identity. A wallet contains money, documents, cards, but it does not contain who you are. If someone takes your wallet, you handle it. You cancel cards, request replacements, organize the damage. But if you allow it to redefine how you see yourself, the loss multiplies. The event was external, identity is internal, and the two do not need to merge. Ask yourself with calm honesty, did they take money? Or are you allowing them to take your sense of worth? Did they withhold payment? Or are you withholding from yourself the compassion you deserve? This question is not accusation, it is liberation. Because while you excessively blame yourself, you remain emotionally tied to what happened. Perhaps today, the invitation is not to forget what was done, nor to pretend it doesn't matter. The invitation is subtler. It is not turning a financial injustice into a permanent internal sentence. What was withheld had impact, yes, but you are still the same capable, competent, worthy person. The other person's mistake does not define your intelligence. Their dishonesty does not redefine your discernment. Trusting was not weakness, it was humanity. And when you begin to see this more clearly, something shifts inside you. The pain does not disappear immediately, but it stops commanding you. You begin to regain your center, and when your center returns, the mind stops spinning compulsively. The breath deepens, the body relaxes a little, and in that calmer space, you are ready to understand something essential. The intensity of Psalm 109 is not exaggeration, it is validation. 3. Why Psalm 109 sounds so intense, and why that matters. Some people avoid Psalm 109 because it feels too strong. The words seem harsh. The emotion feels raw. It doesn't match the gentle version of spirituality many were taught. But perhaps the discomfort isn't in the text. Perhaps it's in the fact that it says out loud what many feel in silence. And when something expresses exactly the intensity you've tried to repress, that can be unsettling. We were often taught that spiritual maturity means constant serenity, that real faith doesn't feel anger, that trusting God eliminates indignation. But that isn't maturity, that's suppression. And emotional neuroscience is clear. Repressed emotions don't disappear. They reorganize. They find other pathways. They can become chronic muscle tension, insomnia, irritation that seems to come out of nowhere. The body holds what the mouth refuses to say. What Psalm 109 does is structure emotion. It does not deny pain. It does not deny injustice. It does not pretend calm while the heart is in conflict. It offers language. And when you find language for your experience, something powerful happens. The nervous system begins to regulate. Because naming is organizing. Naming gives shape to what was once just an internal storm. When you say, "This was unjust," you are not being weak, you are being aware. There is a silent danger in trying to appear calm while resentment ferments inside. The external appearance may be controlled, but internally, pressure builds. It's like a pot without a release valve. At first, everything seems contained, but the heat keeps rising, and eventually, the explosion happens somewhere unexpected. Sometimes toward someone who had nothing to do with it, sometimes toward yourself. Prayer functions as an emotional pressure valve, not to intensify the fire, but to release excess heat safely. When you bring your indignation before God, you are choosing a space where it can exist without destroying you. You are not asking permission to hate. You are asking for justice without losing your integrity. You are saying, "I feel this, and I will not pretend I don't, but I also will not allow it to consume me." Perhaps before even rereading Psalm 109, you need to do something simple and profound. Write your own honest prayer. No religious filter, no polished language, just truth. What exactly hurt? Was it the amount, the broken promise, the silence afterward, the feeling of being used? When you write, you externalize. When you externalize, you reduce the internal load. What was diffuse gains form, and what gains form can be surrendered. Do this now, even if only in your mind. Form a sentence that begins with, "God, what hurt me most was," and finish it. Don't rush. Let the sentence be true. You may realize the primary wound isn't financial, it's relational, it's moral. It's the feeling of being treated as disposable, and recognizing that changes everything. Because you stop fighting only for money, and you begin seeking the restoration of dignity. Recognized anger is not automatically sin. Denied anger is what becomes dangerous. When you admit what you feel before God, you prevent that emotion from leaking out through self-destructive behaviors. You create a safe space between feeling and acting, and in that space, wisdom is born. Suppressing anger does not make you holy. It makes you tense. Structuring the emotion, surrendering the emotion, transforming the emotion, that is maturity. And that is exactly what Psalm 109 models. It shows that you can be intense without being vindictive, honest without being cruel. You can ask for justice without becoming unjust. The intensity of the psalm matters because it validates yours. It says, you are not dramatic for feeling this. It says, God is not offended by your truth. And when you understand that, a layer of guilt dissolves. You no longer have to fight against what you feel. You can simply bring it into the light. And when emotion leaves the shadows, it loses part of its power to control you. The resentment that was fermenting begins to decrease. The trapped energy starts moving in healthier ways, and you prepare yourself to face the next internal challenge. The almost immediate desire to see quick consequences for the one who hurt you. 4. The hidden trap of wanting immediate payback. After the pain is acknowledged, after the injustice is named, a very human and very intense feeling emerges. The desire to see immediate consequences. A part of you wants quick balance. It wants the universe to respond now. It wants the person to feel, as soon as possible, the weight of what they did. This impulse is not a sign of evil. It is the brain seeking the restoration of justice. It is the nervous system trying to close an open threat. anger produces a powerful chemical surge. Adrenaline, norepinephrine, dopamine. There is a temporary increase in energy, in focus, in the sensation of strength. For a few moments, you feel less vulnerable, less small, less exposed. Anger creates the illusion of control. But it is short-term control. It accelerates, it intensifies, and at the same time, it reduces your ability to evaluate consequences accurately. The mind becomes more rigid, the vision narrower. It is in this state that messages are sent impulsively. Voice notes are recorded with a trembling tone. Decisions are made without strategy. And often, these reactions, though understandable, complicate legal processes, close doors for negotiation, or create new conflicts that could have been avoided. The original wound was financial. The impulsive reaction can transform it into something relational, legal, reputational. The damage multiplies. There is a profound difference between justice and revenge. Justice is aligned. It is strategic. It is conscious. Revenge is reactive. It is immediate. It is emotionally urgent. When we talk about letting God fight for you, we are not talking about folding your arms and accepting abuse. We are talking about refusing self-sabotage. We are talking about not allowing pain to dictate your next move. Because when pain is in charge, it rarely leads to the best outcome. A simple but powerful practice is the 48-hour rule. When you feel the urge to send a loaded message, to confront with intensity, to post something that exposes, wait, do not repress it. Write what you want to say, but do not send it. Give your nervous system time to move out of a threat state. In 2 days, the brain has already processed part of the emotion. Clarity increases, and often you will realize that what felt urgent was not strategic. This pause is not weakness. It is regulated strength. It is emotional maturity. It is understanding that a rushed reaction may cost more than the original loss. A careless comment can close doors that might have led to restitution. An outburst can be used against you. Calm, on the other hand, disarms. Calm observes. Calm calculates. Calm decides. Imagine someone has already taken a significant amount from you. Now, imagine that, driven by the rush to retaliate, you make a decision that further damages your position. It is as if, in the face of loss, you choose to multiply it. A hurried reaction can cost more than what was withheld, and that is an invisible trap. There is something even deeper here. When you demand that consequences happen immediately, you place your peace, independence on the other person's behavior. Without realizing it, you say, I will only be okay when he pays. And that keeps your emotional stability hostage to someone who has already demonstrated irresponsibility. Your serenity becomes conditioned on the actions of someone who did not act with integrity. And that is a subtle prison. Letting go of the urgency of revenge does not mean letting go of the desire for justice. It means trusting that justice does not need your impulsivity to happen. It means choosing to act from clarity, not from emotional combustion. It means saying internally, I will respond, but I will respond whole, clear-minded, strategic. And when you do this, something shifts in the energy of the situation. You stop being only someone wounded and reacting. You become someone aware and deciding. That transition is powerful. It restores to you a real sense of control, not the explosive control of anger, but the steady control of consciousness. Because in the end, letting God fight for you is not an invitation to passivity. It is an invitation to wisdom. It is trusting that you do not need to destroy your own peace to prove that you were wronged. It is understanding that true justice is not born from haste. It is born from clarity, and clarity requires time, breath, and the courage not to act on the first impulse. 5. The spiritual principle of recorded labor. There is a silent question that echoes when payment does not come. Was my effort in vain? That question is heavy. It doesn't just touch your wallet, it touches your motivation. When financial recognition fails, something inside you may begin to doubt the value of what you did. And that doubt, if left unattended, slowly erodes self-confidence. But there is a profound spiritual principle that runs throughout Scripture. No work done with integrity is invisible to God. Within the book of Psalms itself, we repeatedly see the affirmation that God sees what is hidden, hears what was never spoken, records what went unnoticed by people. Psalm 109 is born out of that very confidence, the confidence that even when people ignore, God does not ignore. Many people feel invisible when their effort is not financially acknowledged. It is as if hours of dedication, mental energy, planning, commitment simply evaporate. Psychologically, chronic undervaluation reduces motivation. The brain begins to associate effort with frustration, and in order to protect itself, it decreases the intensity of future investment. You start holding back. Delivering less, trusting less, feeling less enthusiastic. But here is something essential. The fact that someone did not recognize your work does not erase its real value. Someone else's mistake does not rewrite the quality of what you produced. Your work still was well done. Your dedication still was real. Your integrity remains intact. And that matters. It matters deeply. At the same time, practical spirituality does not mean administrative naivety. Trusting that God sees does not eliminate the need for clear documentation. Record agreements, formalize contracts, keep evidence, send written confirmations. Faith does not replace responsibility. On the contrary, it strengthens responsibility. When you document your work, you're not being distrustful, you're being prudent. You're honoring your own effort. There is a metaphor that may help visualize this principle. Buried seeds are not erased. When you plant, the seed disappears from the surface. It seems gone. It seems swallowed by the soil, but it has not been canceled. It is recorded in a different rhythm of time. It is working in the invisible. It is preparing to emerge at the right moment. In the same way, your work did not disappear because someone withheld payment. It may not have been rewarded in that specific line of your story, but it was not erased from the spiritual record. And more than that, it was not erased from your own development. Every project you completed increased your skill. Every delivery sharpened your competence. Every challenge expanded your capacity. Even if the money did not come, growth did. And that shifts the perspective. Because if you look only at the amount withheld, you may feel that you lost. But if you look at what you became throughout the process, you realize there were invisible gains: competence, resilience, discernment. These assets cannot be withheld. They cannot be blocked. They belong to you. Nothing you built in integrity disappears from God's record. Repeat that internally. Let that sentence reach the place where doubt tried to settle. The fact that you have not been paid yet does not turn your work into something useless. Delay does not redefine value, Injustice does not erase merit, and when you internalize this principle, something subtle begins to happen. The feeling of invisibility starts to fade. You realize that your effort does not depend exclusively on human validation. That does not eliminate your right to restitution, but it removes the desperation. It removes the frantic urgency to prove that you deserved better, because deep down, you know you did, and you know you still do. Justice may be in motion, even if it is not yet visible, and while it moves, you do not need to diminish your own sense of worth. However, there is a silent obstacle that can block even new opportunities for restoration. It is not the other person. It is not the system. It is something internal. It is when pain begins to turn into bitterness, and that must be faced with both courage and compassion. 6. When bitterness blocks financial restoration, there is an almost invisible line between legitimate pain and silent bitterness. Pain says, "This was unjust." Bitterness begins to whisper, "Nothing will ever work out." People always do this. It's not worth trusting. Pain is a response to what happened. Bitterness becomes a lens that starts distorting everything that could still happen. Prolonged resentment alters the way the brain perceives possibilities. When you repeatedly relive the injustice, your nervous system remains on alert, and a brain in constant alert mode tends to see threat before it sees opportunity. Creativity decreases. Cognitive flexibility narrows. The mind becomes rigid, defensive. You begin analyzing new proposals not with healthy discernment, but with automatic suspicion, and that is understandable. After being hurt, the natural instinct is to protect yourself, but excessive protection can turn into blockage. I have seen people who, after a financial loss, spent months waiting for restitution before moving forward, as if life were paused until the money returned, as if they were only allowed to prosper again after the account was settled. And while they waited, they rejected new opportunities, avoided new connections, closed themselves off to possible paths of rebuilding. There is a subtle shift that changes everything, moving from a focus on revenge to a focus on solutions. This does not mean abandoning the desire for justice. It means widening the horizon. It means asking, while this issue is being resolved, what can I build? Because your life does not need to remain suspended until someone fulfills what they should have fulfilled. There is a question that may feel uncomfortable, but freeing. Are you waiting for the money to return before allowing yourself to move forward? Are you conditioning your next step on restitution? If the answer is yes, observe that with compassion. It is not weakness. It is simply a heart that wants closure. But sometimes closure does not arrive on our preferred timeline, and life continues, offering movement. Bitterness closes fists, and closed fists cannot receive anything new. When you grip tightly to the narrative of injustice, you may, without realizing it, be preventing new connections, new contracts, new ideas from approaching, not because God is punishing you, but because your perception has narrowed. Your gaze is fixed in only one direction. Letting go of bitterness is not declaring that what happened was acceptable. It is deciding that it will not have permanent power over your expansion. It is saying, "This hurt me, but it will not shrink me." It is choosing to keep developing skills, strengthening networks, pursuing learning. It is praying for justice while building new possibilities. There are real stories of people who never received back the exact amount that was withheld, but who, after shifting their focus toward rebuilding, ended up reaching something greater than what they had lost. Not by magic, not by divine revenge, but because, by releasing the energy trapped in resentment, they redirected that energy toward creation, and creation always opens pathways. Notice the internal difference when you think about the situation with intense anger versus when you think about it with steady determination. In the first case, your body tightens. In the second, it organizes. The first consumes energy. The second channels energy. And you need that energy available in order to move forward. Perhaps today the invitation is simple and profound. Open your hands, not to give up on justice, but to allow new opportunities to find space. Open your hands to learn from what happened. Open your hands to grow. Open your hands to trust again with greater wisdom, because God may fight for you in ways that do not involve only recovering what was lost, but also expanding what is still ahead. And that requires a heart that, even wounded, remains open enough to receive. 7. The difference between surrender and avoidance. There is a very common confusion when we talk about surrendering an unjust situation to God. Some people call it faith, when in reality it is fear of confrontation. Others call it patience, when deep down it is paralysis. And it is important to distinguish the two, because surrender is not avoidance. Entrusting something to God is not the same as running from it. Psalm 109 is not a passive prayer. It is an active cry for divine intervention. It acknowledges pain, declares injustice, and asks for action. That is very different from pretending nothing happened. Mature spirituality does not deny human responsibility. It walks alongside practical discernment. There are situations in which seeking legal guidance is wisdom, not a lack of faith. There are moments when a formal conversation is necessary. There are circumstances where negotiation is appropriate. And there are also cases where insisting only prolongs exhaustion, and the wisest decision is to release and move forward. Discerning between these paths requires calm. It requires reflection. It requires listening not only to emotion, but also to reason illuminated by conscience. Some people avoid acting because they are afraid of appearing confrontational. Others avoid it out of fear of making things worse. And still others use spiritual language to justify inertia. If God wants to, He'll fix it. But God often works through responsible decisions. Faith does not eliminate strategic action. It guides strategic action. There is something powerful about calm persistence. Loud indignation draws attention, but quiet consistency resolves more than we imagine. When you communicate clearly, document precisely, and maintain a balanced posture, you transmit strength. Not the strength of explosion, but the strength of stability. And stability intimidates injustice more than shouting ever will. Calm persistence is often more threatening to injustice than loud outrage, because injustice expects reactivity. It expects chaos. When it encounters steady composure, it encounters intelligent resistance. And intelligent resistance has real impact. Perhaps the practical question now is, what is one concrete step you can take this week? Not a step driven by anger, a step driven by clarity. It may be organizing documents. It may be consulting a professional. It may be drafting an objective communication. It may be deciding internally that you will not invest more emotional energy than necessary. One step, Just one. Small, but aligned. Notice how that shifts your internal posture. You stop being merely someone waiting for something to happen. You become someone cooperating with the process of justice, surrendering ultimate control to God, while taking responsibility for your part. And there is something liberating in that, because it avoids two extremes: impulsive revenge and resigned passivity. You do not need to attack, but you also do not need to erase yourself. You can remain whole. You can remain calm. You can remain active. When this difference becomes clear within you, a new sense of identity begins to form. You are no longer only the person who suffered injustice. You begin to see yourself as someone who walked through a difficult experience and chose to respond with maturity. And that internal shift is profound because it redefines not only what happened, but who you understand yourself to be. 8. The identity shift from victim to witness. There is a quiet moment when pain stops being just something that happened and starts becoming a story you tell about yourself. Without realizing it, financial injustice can seep into your identity. You don't say it out loud, but internally you begin to introduce yourself as the person who was deceived, the person who worked and wasn't paid, the person who always loses. And when an experience turns into identity, it begins to limit the future. Being the victim of an injustice is a fact. Continuing to see yourself as a victim is an internal state. The fact cannot be changed. The state can. There is a profound difference between being a victim and being a witness. The victim remains trapped in the event. The witness acknowledges the event, but does not live inside it. The witness observes, learns, moves forward. When you over-identify with what you lost, you risk building future decisions out of fear. The fear of trusting again. The fear of investing energy. The fear of exposing yourself. And that fear does not arise because you are weak. It arises because the brain learned to associate vulnerability with pain. But past experiences are not permanent prophecies. They are data, and data can be interpreted differently when there is awareness. There is a powerful spiritual reframing here. You are not the dwelling place of injustice. You are the witness of it. Injustice passed through you, but it did not become your permanent address. Just as a storm can move through a house without redefining its foundation, what happened does not have to redefine who you are. A simple exercise can help solidify this shift. Rewrite your story mentally, highlighting not only what was lost, but what was endured. Instead of, "I was deceived," try, "I walked through an unjust experience and remained whole." Instead of, "I worked for nothing," try, "I contributed with competence, and now I carry greater discernment." This narrative shift does not erase the pain, but it restores agency. Notice how your body responds when you describe yourself as a victim versus when you describe yourself as someone who witnessed injustice and kept going. In the first case, there is heaviness. In the second, there is solidity. Because witnessing is not denial, it is integration without imprisonment. Spiritually, this shift is essential. When you see yourself only as a victim, you wait to be rescued. When you see yourself as a witness, you cooperate with restoration. You stop passively waiting for repair and begin building a path where justice can manifest in multiple ways. And this prepares you to understand something even broader. Sometimes, Financial restoration does not come from the same source that caused the loss, and that is not defeat, it is expansion. 9. Financial restoration. Beyond the original source, there is an almost automatic expectation within us. If someone withheld something that was mine, then restitution has to come from that same person. It feels logical, it feels fair, and in many cases, it may indeed happen that way, but not always. And when you fix your hope exclusively on that one source, you may end up limiting the ways restoration can manifest. Sometimes, the money does not return from the hands that blocked it. But it returns through other paths. An unexpected new contract, a referral that seems to come out of nowhere, an opportunity that appears precisely when you decide not to put your life on hold, waiting for the past to resolve itself. This is not simplistic mysticism. It is movement. It is network. It is strategy. It is an open mind. When you release the fixation, something happens cognitively. The mind becomes more flexible. Neuroscience calls this increased cognitive flexibility, the ability to see multiple solutions to the same problem. While you insist that the only form of justice is that specific person paying, your brain operates in a narrow mode. When you accept that restoration may come through another route, your perception expands, and expanded perception sees opportunities that previously went unnoticed. From a spiritual perspective, this is also profound. God's justice is not limited to a single human channel. He does not depend exclusively on the one who failed you in order to restore you. The source is not just the person. The source is greater. And when you understand that, your heart relaxes a little, because provision is not trapped by the character of the one who failed you. This does not mean giving up on pursuing what is right. It means not conditioning your hope on a single outcome. It means continuing to document, communicate, and act responsibly, while at the same time expanding your paths. Perhaps it is time to develop a new skill, to strengthen professional connections, to explore an idea that had been set aside, not as escape, but as expansion. Ask yourself honestly, am I waiting for an apology in order to allow myself to prosper in life? Am I waiting for a specific project before I'm confident? If the answer is yes, consider the possibility that your life can move forward before that account is settled. There are stories of people who lost significant amounts and instead of freezing emotionally, chose to widen their horizons. And in doing so, they discovered income sources that surpassed what had been lost. Not because they ignored the injustice, but because they refused to let it define the limits of what was possible. God's justice is not limited to the hands that hurt you. Repeat that internally. Let that idea soften the rigidity of a single expectation. What was withheld was real, but what can be restored may be greater than you imagine. When you make room for multiple forms of restitution, you move from tense waiting into active cooperation with your own life. You keep praying. You keep trusting, but you also keep building. You keep moving. You keep believing that your story did not end with that loss. And then we arrive at something even deeper. Because in the end, the true victory is not merely seeing numbers return to your account. It is walking through this entire process without losing who you are. It is allowing God to fight for you without, along the way, losing your peace, your dignity, or your integrity. 10. Conclusion. When God fights, without you losing yourself, when you return to Psalm 109, after all of this, it stops being just an intense text. It becomes an emotional map, a structured path for bringing indignation to God without allowing it to turn into internal poison. It does not teach revenge. It teaches conscious surrender. It shows that you can cry out for justice without losing your own essence in the process. Imagine a courtroom. Cases are not resolved through shouting. They are resolved in stages. There is documentation. There is waiting. There is analysis. There is decision. True justice is not chaotic. It is not explosive. It is deliberate. In the same way, divine justice is not an uncontrolled emotional reaction. It is alignment. It is order restored at the right time. Perhaps the restoration you are waiting for involves numbers, amounts, transfers, documents, and that is legitimate. But there is a deeper restoration taking place while you wait, the restoration of your dignity. Because every time you choose not to give in to bitterness, something is strengthened within you. Every time you decide to act with clarity instead of impulse, something matures. Every time you surrender to God what you cannot control, while taking responsibility for what you can, you grow. And this is the part that often goes unnoticed. You're not merely waiting for something external to move. You are being transformed internally. Your identity is being refined. Your faith is moving from theory into emotional practice. You are learning how to feel deeply without being governed by what you feel. Perhaps today, you still have not seen material restitution. Perhaps there is still an outstanding amount, a broken agreement, an unjust silence. But notice something honestly. You are still here, still whole, still capable, still aware. The injustice did not destroy your capacity to love. It did not destroy your intelligence. It did not destroy your faith. And that is already a quiet victory. Now, once again, allow this prayer not just to be repeated, but to be felt. Lord, who sees hidden contracts and silent exploitation, defend what I built. Where my name was used unfairly, clear it. Where money was blocked, open lawful paths for restoration. I refuse to poison my future with resentment. Fight in ways I cannot see. Return what aligns with your justice. And if it comes through new doors, give me courage to walk through them. Feel the difference between demanding and trusting, between pressing and surrendering, between being consumed and remaining whole. You're not choosing passivity. You're choosing to preserve your soul while justice runs its course. Because in the end, true victory is not only recovered funds, it is a heart that remained intact while waiting. It is leaving this experience not smaller, but more aware, not more closed, but wiser, not more bitter, but steadier. Let God fight for you. But above all, do not lose yourself while He does. Remain whole, remain clear-minded, remain at peace. Remaining at peace does not mean you no longer feel anything. It means that even while feeling, you choose not to abandon yourself. It means injustice does not get the final word over your story. It means what was withheld does not have the authority to define your future. Perhaps along this process, you have discovered something surprising about yourself. You discovered that you can endure more than you imagined, that you can reflect instead of react, that you can surrender instead of harden. And that is real strength. Not the loud strength of revenge, but the quiet strength of integrity. There are people who recover the money but lose their tenderness. Recover the amounts, but lose their ability to trust. Win the dispute, but lose their lightness. That is not the victory you are seeking. The victory we are building here is deeper. It is leaving with your soul preserved. It is allowing God to handle the external justice while you protect your interior. And if restitution comes, receive it with gratitude, not with accumulated bitterness. Do not turn the return into fuel to relive the pain. Allow it to be what it is, a necessary correction. Not a trophy of revenge. If it comes through another path, recognize it. Do not dismiss it just because it did not arrive in the form you expected. Sometimes, the door that closes is replaced by one you would never have considered opening. Continue acting responsibly. Continue documenting. Continue seeking counsel when necessary. Continue expanding your possibilities. But do all of it with a heart that is not poisoned, because a poisoned heart sabotages even the best strategies. And a clean heart sees opportunities where it once saw only threat. Perhaps the greater question now is not, when will the money return? But who am I becoming while I wait? That is the transformative question, because it shifts the focus from external control to internal growth. And internal growth cannot be blocked by anyone. You were wronged. That is a fact. But you were not reduced. You were not erased. You were not defined by this episode. You remain someone capable of building, of trusting with wisdom, of acting with clarity. Injustice touched your life. It did not take possession of it. Take a deep breath once more. Feel your own body. Feel that you are still here, that your story continues, that your dignity remains intact, and allow that quiet certainty to replace anxious urgency. God sees, God records, God aligns, in the right time, in the right way, and in the meantime, you remain whole. That is true restoration.